To save Lin Jing'an, who had fallen from a height during work, I risked my own safety, willingly acting as a human cushion to break his fall. In the end, he only suffered minor scrapes, but I was severely injured by the impact, breaking my right arm. Later, pressured by the gossip and obligations surrounding his debt of life, he was forced to marry me, but Lin Jing'an never loved me. I even overheard his true feelings once when he was drunk. If I'd known I'd be chained to Guiqing for life, I might as well have died back then. A chill ran through my entire body. That's when I realized Lin Jing'an had never forgotten his first love all these years. He'd even been telling our child their love story behind my back. Even my own children believe I ruined Lin Jing'an's chance at true love, that I held a debt of gratitude over his head and kept him from his heart's desire. They abandoned me in a desolate nursing home to waste away and die. When I opened my eyes again, I had gone back to the day Lin Jing'an climbed the utility pole to start his shift. This time, I didn't save him. Instead, I kept my distance. In this lifetime, let him have his wish fulfilled. Jing'an, this job is very dangerous. You must take proper safety precautions. That's right, Jing'an, this utility pole is over 10 meters high. A fall from that height would be disastrous. Better to take it slow than to rush. Lin Jing'an was fully geared up, with a safety harness around his waist and climbing spikes on his feet, slowly making his way up the pole. I was jolted awake by the shouts all around me, my mind, which had felt like mush, suddenly snapping into sharp focus. The area was crowded with villagers. Without realizing it, I had walked right up to the base of the utility pole. My eyes were fixed on Lin Jing'an, who had already climbed to the middle section, and I was so tense that my palms were sweating. This scene looked all too familiar, as did the words being spoken. It hit me in an instant. I had been reborn. I had gone back 40 years. To the very day I risked my own safety to act as a human cushion for Lin Jing'an. In my past life, to save Lin Jing'an from a sudden fall from a utility pole, I had willingly used my own body to break his fall. I cushioned his fall, so Lin Jing'an only suffered minor scrapes, while I ended up with internal bleeding and a broken right arm. Fortunately, I was rushed to the hospital in time and they managed to save me. It was this act of saving his life that caused quite a stir in our county. Neighbors who knew Lin Jing'an and me well were aware that we were childhood sweethearts. We grew up together, shared a deep bond, and were a perfect match from the start. Everyone was gossiping and joking that since saving a life leaves one indebted, the only way to repay it is to offer oneself in marriage. This pressure and public opinion forced Lin Jing'an to choose to marry me. It was only after we were married that I realized Lin Jing'an never loved me at all. On our wedding day, he hid in the power plant and called Sun Ruowei from a landline, crying his heart out. I'm sorry, Ruowei, I can't marry you in this lifetime. If there is a next life, I swear I will never let you down again. After the wedding, I buried this secret deep in my heart and never told a soul. Even though I knew he was forced to marry me, I always believed that love could grow over time. I couldn't believe that after all these decades, I still hadn't managed to touch his heart. For 40 years, day in and day out, I poured all my energy into taking care of Lin Jing'an's life. To spare him from worrying about household affairs, I took on every single task, big or small, so he could work without a care in the world. But it wasn't until that day, when he spoke his true feelings while drunk, that I finally saw the light. You can't warm a stone with your own body heat. Behind my back, he told our children countless stories about his past romance with Sun Ruowei, yet he never once mentioned all I had done for him. As a result, when they grew up, the children only resented me for holding my sacrifices over his head and ruining his lifelong love with Sun Ruowei. Looking back now, it all seems so absurd and ridiculous. A sudden shout snapped him out of his reverie. Hey, look! Why is Lin the electrician coming back down? Just then, Lin Jing'an, who should have kept climbing, abruptly turned back. In no time at all, he had climbed down the utility pole of his own accord. Spotting me standing beneath the utility pole, he frowned slightly, shot me a look of disgust, and instinctively put some distance between us. Foreman, this gear is old and worn out. It was about to snap. Good thing I noticed in time, so I climbed back down, before I could think it through. A commotion erupted from the crowd. Lin Jing'an gave a sharp tug with both hands, and his safety harness snapped. He wiped the sweat from his brow, still shaken by the close call. Good thing I noticed in time, or I really would have fallen from up there. As he spoke, he shot me a fleeting, almost imperceptible glance and added with a sneer, and then it would have been a windfall for certain people again. My heart gave a violent jolt. Of course, I knew exactly who he was referring to. The absurd part is, in my past life, I risked life and limb to save him. In Lin Jing'an's eyes, I got off far too easily. It seems I'm not the only one who has been reborn. I let out a cold, derisive snort, then you'd better pray nothing else goes wrong. I immediately decided to head home, to get away from this whole mess. To my surprise, Lin Jing'an called me back and asked me to stay with him. He was clearly spooked by what I'd just said, staring at me with a grim expression. Guiqing. Where do you think you're going? We're not done here. You stay under that utility pole and keep watch. If something goes wrong, you'll be right there to help me. I whipped my head around and looked at Lin Jing'an, who was ordering me around with such self-righteousness. A cold, mocking laugh escaped me. Having lived with him for 40 years, I knew exactly what was going through his mind. After that incident in my past life, Lin Jing'an developed a real phobia of working at heights. He was quickly transferred to a rear position by the power plant and never had to do frontline work like climbing utility poles again. Furthermore, he was afraid something else might go wrong. If he were to fall again, with me there, I'd be a human cushion to break his fall. With so many people here, what's a grown man like you afraid of? If something really goes wrong, plenty of people will be there to help you. Did you really think a little girl like me could carry you? The crowd around them burst into laughter, egging him on to hurry up and climb the utility pole to restore the power. We're all watching you, Lin, you'll be fine, hurry up and fix the wires. Everyone's waiting to get back to work. Lin Jing'an's face instantly turned ashen. In my past life of 40 years, I had never once refused any of his requests. Now, the first time he spoke up after my rebirth, I mercilessly mocked him. Lin Jing'an, a well-known electrician in the county, had been a respected figure his entire life. He had never been subjected to ridicule before. He glared at me, brow furrowed and teeth clenched. Fine, Guiqing, if you walk away now, don't you ever dare come begging for my attention again. I pretended I hadn't heard a word and walked away without looking back. Little did he know, the last thing I wanted now was to be anywhere near him. Seeing me quickly vanish into the crowd, Lin Jing'an could only stand there, seething with helpless rage. In the end, pressured by the crowd, I cautiously climbed up the utility pole. After I left, I hurried straight to the county post office. In my previous life, I had successfully gotten into university, but it was all because I saved Lin Jing'an. I was unconscious for a full 7 days and then spent more time recuperating in the hospital. By the time I remembered and rushed to the post office to collect my admission letter, I was told I had missed the enrollment deadline and my spot was considered forfeited. What's more, the university had already filled my place with another candidate, and there was no way to get it back. In the end, I could only take a temporary job at the power plant, where Lin Jing'an would mock me all day long. Meanwhile, Sun Ruowei, who had returned from university, quickly established herself at the plant and was constantly seen with Lin Jing'an, like a pair of lovebirds. I even know that many people privately lamented the fact that such a perfect couple was ruined by a worthless nobody like me. In my past life, I argued and made a scene, until Lin Jing'an finally told me with contempt, if it weren't for my connections. Do you think you could have gotten that temp job at the electronics factory? How dare you even think you can compare to Ruowei? I knew from that day on that Lin Jing'an had never gotten over Sun Ruowei. Even if I gave him my heart and soul, it wouldn't have been enough. This time, I'll let him have his great love story, let him have his wish. I just arrived at the post office to pick up my university acceptance letter by giving my name. The post office manager really laid on the praise. You're the only university student from our area this time. You've really done us proud. They practically ushered me out of the post office with great ceremony. But I still had some doubts in my heart. Wasn't Sun Ruowei from my past life also a university student? How could I be the only one? But I didn't pay it much mind. When I got home and told my parents the good news, my dad was so excited he started lighting incense and praying to the gods. That very day, Mom prepared a feast and invited all the neighbors from the alley over for a meal. Lin Jing'an's house was also in the same alley, less than 20 meters from mine. When he returned, he was still in his work clothes from the day, with a deep gash on his hand that was still bleeding. Seeing this, my mother sent me home to fetch some medicinal herbs to stop the bleeding and a large towel. I really didn't want to go, but I couldn't argue with the stern look in my mother's eyes. She was a doctor who ran a small clinic, treating all the minor ailments and injuries for the neighbors. Reluctantly, I ground up some Panax noto ginseng leaves in a mortar, applied the paste to Lin Jing'an's hand, and wrapped it with a towel. Lin Jing'an looked at me with a complicated expression as he asked, I heard you got into university. Did you receive the acceptance letter? I didn't say anything, just nodded. Yet, a flicker of tension and unease seemed to surface in Lin Jing'an's eyes. For a moment, I thought he'd finally seen the light and recognized my worth. Turns out, he was just gearing up to shout, You are not going, Guiqing. I order you to give up this opportunity. I stared at Lin Jing'an for a long moment, looking at him as if he were a complete fool. He must still think he's living in his past life. In those 40 years when I obeyed his every word, she looked at him with scorn, a cold sneer curling at the corner of her mouth. Why can't I go? I worked so hard to get into this university. What gives you the right to tell me to give it up? Because Ruawei has been waiting for this chance for a long time. If you just give up your spot, I can recommend her for the school's supplementary admission. In that instant, I froze on the spot, my entire body trembling with rage. I have to say, Lin Jing'an's words have once again left me utterly devastated. No wonder. Even though only one person got into university, it was Sun Ruawei who returned with a degree in my past life, so it was him all along. In my past life, he was the one who cost me my chance to go to university, yet, I stubbornly believed it was just an accident, and devoted my entire life to caring for him. All the emotions in my heart were stirred up at that moment. How foolish I was. I should have realized it much sooner. In my past life, my monthly salary was 60 yuan. He brought home less than half of it as living expenses, which simply wasn't enough to get by. Later, to ease his burden, I took a temporary job at the power plant. That's also when I found out that Lin Jing'an was sending out the majority of his money every month. Looking back now, it was most likely sent to Sun Ruawei, who was in school at the time. The words were practically hissed through clenched teeth. Lin Jing'an, in my last life you cost me my chance at university, and now you want me to give up again, in your dreams. I won't let anyone take this opportunity from me this time. His face was cold as he threatened me. This is an order, not a discussion. Gu Yiqing, if you behave, I might just consider making you my wife again in this lifetime, but if you insist on defying me, don't blame me for forgetting the marital bond we shared in our past life. I had chewed the soft flesh inside my mouth to a pulp. The coppery taste of blood flooded my tongue. In the end, those 40 years of affection from our past life were utterly worthless. In his eyes, there's only Sun Ruawei. Don't you worry, in this lifetime, I'd rather stay single forever than marry you again. With that, I turned and walked away. Behind me, Lin Jing'an flew into a rage and kicked a chair across the room. Fine, Gu Yiqing, if you're so capable, don't you dare come looking for me. I returned home with my eyes red and swollen. My mother could tell immediately that I must have had a fight with Lin Jing'an. Don't cry, Yiqing, you had a fight with Jing'an, didn't you? Now, I'm not trying to lecture you, but if you're going to marry him someday, you'll have to learn to put up with his temper now. No way, I'll never marry Lin Jing'an in this lifetime. Once I get to university, there will be plenty of men better than him. In my past life, I was trapped and ruined by my attachment to Lin Jing'an. In this life, I won't make the same mistake again. After that day, I didn't run into Lin Jing'an for quite a while. Sometimes, if I ran into him on the street, I'd instinctively avoid him. I thought Lin Jing'an would have given up on that ridiculous idea of stopping me from going to university, but it turned out he wouldn't be reasoned with, and threats fell on deaf ears, so he started scheming behind my back. If I hadn't gone to the post office to send my mother some herbs, I would never have discovered Lin Jing'an and Sun Ruawei's little scheme. The two of them had just finished mailing their letters and were stepping out of the post office. Sun Ruawei, her large eyes glistening, clung tightly to Lin Jing'an's arm, her face a picture of gratitude. Jing'an, I really don't know what I would have done without you. I would have missed my chance at university this time for sure. Hearing those words, my face went pale. For a moment, I didn't understand what Sun Ruawei meant. Wasn't this university's admission spot supposed to be mine? But from what Sun Ruawei was saying, did Lin Jing'an do something to help her? And it ended up benefiting her instead. A gentle smile graced Lin Jing'an's face as he gazed affectionately at Sun Ruawei, whispering sweet nothings. Don't worry, Ruawei, with me by your side, I'll make sure you get into university. Aren't you afraid Gu Yiqing will really make a scene with you? A cold, mocking smile tugged at the corner of his mouth. What right does she have to make a scene with me? A few little favors and she's happy for hours. Besides, worst case scenario, I'll just marry her. But Ruawei, you have to believe me, you're the one I truly love. Even if I marry Gu Yiqing, I'll find a way to divorce her and wait for you to finish university and come back. Sun Ruawei was instantly overwhelmed with emotion. They kissed right there, as if no one else existed. I hid in the corner and closed my eyes, utterly drained. The grievances of my past life merged with the tears of this one, a bitter taste spreading from the tip of my tongue. So, the love I poured out over 40 years in my past life meant nothing to him. I'm the kind of person who can be easily appeased with a few small favors. He was willing to sacrifice himself and marry me, just so Sun Ruawei could fulfill her dream of going to university. I just stood there, watching the two of them walk away from the post office in each other's arms. After a long while, I cautiously emerged from the alley and headed straight for the post office to find some answers. It was fortunate that many of the comrades at the post office recognized me from when I came to collect my admission letter last time. As soon as I stepped inside, the comrades there spoke to me with a tone of regret. "Comrade Gu, this is such a tremendous opportunity. How could you give up on enrolling?" I was stunned for a moment, but quickly found my words to reply. "No, I've been preparing for university all along. Just now, someone came with your household registration booklet. They said it was due to family reasons and withdrew your admission on your behalf. They had us send back the withdrawal letter and the recommendation for a supplementary admission spot." At this moment, I finally understood what Lin Jing'an was up to. In my past life, as his wife, Lin Jing'an had always known my ID number. With his connections, getting a copy of my household register and forging it would be a piece of cake. Considering he had already gotten me to drop out in my past life, he'd undoubtedly be even more adept at it this time around. If I voluntarily withdrew, all he'd need to do is pull some strings to recommend Sun Ruowei to fill my spot, and she could seamlessly take over my university admission. The sudden realization hit me like a ton of bricks. In a panic, she lunged forward and grabbed the postal worker's hand. "You can't send this letter. I need it for university, and I have absolutely no connection to him. He has no right to decide for me. My household registration booklet has always been at my home. His is a forgery." The mention of forging a state document scared the postal worker half to death. I immediately turned back and had someone intercept the mail, while also calling the police. Fortunately, the mail was intercepted in time. When the officers from the local police station arrived, they asked me to explain what had happened. Shortly after, while I was sitting in the station's lobby, I saw Lin Jing'an and Sun Ruowei being brought in by the officers. Sun Ruowei's face had drained of all color from fright. Lin Jing'an saw me and immediately rushed over, practically jabbing his finger in my face as he berated me. "Gu Yiqing, have you no shame? What did Ruowei ever do to you to deserve you falsely accusing her of breaking the law?" I finally saw Lin Jing'an for the man he was, going to such extraordinary lengths just to get Sun Ruowei into university. He let out a cold, disdainful snort. "Whether it's illegal or not, the police at the station will give us the answer. No amount of talking now can hide your guilt. Lin Jing'an, don't you dare treat me like a fool." His face instantly paled, his eyes darted nervously, and his fingertips trembled. The moment I saw Sun Ruowei being taken in for questioning, she started playing the sympathy card with me. "Yiqing, whatever it is, we can discuss it privately. There's no need to make such a big scene out of some things. I just found it utterly ridiculous." She had just pointed her finger at me with false accusations, and not 2 seconds later, she's talking about a private discussion. "Did you ever once consult me before you forged my household register and made the decision to give up my school admission on my behalf? And now you're telling me there's no need to make such a big deal out of this. On what grounds?" Almost at the same moment, the police called out Lin Jing'an's name. "Comrade Lin Jing'an, please cooperate with the investigation." 2 police officers walked up behind Lin Jing'an and grabbed his arms, just before being led away. He suddenly turned his head to look at me, his expression complex as he asked, "Yiqing, when did you find out?" I stared at him coldly. If not for a twist of fate, my dream of going to university would have been shattered by Lin Jing'an once again. The thought of being kept in the dark by him in my past life, and yet caring for him wholeheartedly for 40 years, fills me with bitter, gnawing hatred. "If you don't want anyone to know, don't do it in the first place, Lin Jing'an. You're not even human. I truly regret ever falling for someone like you. You make me sick." The words were practically spat out in a roar. In my past life, I lived with him for 40 years, even knowing he was always deeply in love with Sun Ruowei. I never uttered a single word of such bitter hatred. When the police took him away, he seemed completely dazed. The case was solved before long. It was a straightforward matter from the start. Not to mention, there was testimony from the post office staff and the registration records provided by Sun Ruowei. The outcome of the case was announced in no time. You have to hand it to Lin Jing'an. He really managed to minimize the fallout on himself. The mastermind was Sun Ruowei. Every entry on that handwritten household register was in her handwriting. For forging household registration documents, she was rewarded with a 4-year prison sentence. Most importantly, she was barred from ever taking the college entrance exam for the rest of her life. Even after learning the outcome, I still approached the police officer with lingering trepidation to inquire about my university admission. "Comrade Gu, rest assured, we will report this matter to our superiors and guarantee it will not affect your university enrollment." Only after receiving the answer I most desperately wanted did I finally head home, my mind at ease. I had just returned to the street when a pair of powerful hands grabbed my arm and dragged me into the mouth of an alley. The sky was growing dim, even in the dim lamplight. The fury on Lin Jing'an's face was unmistakable. Gu Yiqing, why did you call the police? Don't you realize you've ruined Ruowei? You've given her a criminal record. She'll never be able to go to college now. I wrenched my hand free from his grip and, still seething, slapped him across the face. You brought this on yourselves. Who told you to have the nerve to forge my household registration booklet? And it's also your fault, Lin Jing'an, that Sun Ruowei now has a criminal record in her file. You're the one who gave her my household registration information, aren't you? In my past life, you used these despicable tricks to keep me from getting into university, and now in this life, you're trying to ruin me again. The barrage of accusations left Lin Jing'an standing there in a daze. When he realized I knew the whole story, he couldn't even bring himself to look me in the eye. After a long while, he finally touched his cheek, still red and stinging from the slap I'd given him. His gaze suddenly softened, and his words became gentle and quiet. I only did it for your own good, Yiqing. University is tough. In our last life, you didn't go to college and we still spent a lifetime together. You'll always have me by your side, but Ruowei is different. She's all alone. Now that her path to university is blocked, who knows what will become of her? Hearing that actually made me laugh in sheer disbelief, the sheer arrogance of thinking he's doing me a favor. I could have lunged at him and torn his mouth right off. A cold sneer curled on his lips, a clear sign he was absolutely livid. Fine, go ahead and marry Sun Ruowei, now that her path to university is cut off. It's exactly what you wanted, isn't it? She has no other way out but you. My words seemed to have hit upon Lin Jing'an's innermost thoughts. A flicker of excitement flashed in the corner of his eye, but he glared at me in feigned anger, his eyes blazing. Gu Yiqing, have you lost your mind? How could I possibly marry another woman? Don't you know what kind of man I am by now? Don't worry, we were husband and wife for a lifetime in our past life, and I will marry you again in this one. I let out a series of cold, mocking laughs. Precisely because I know exactly what kind of man he is, I will not place any hope in him in this life. Stop pretending, Lin Jing'an. Isn't this exactly what you've always wanted? This time, I'm letting you have your way. You should be thanking me, and you still think you can marry me, in your dreams. With that, under his disbelieving gaze, I turned and walked away without a moment's hesitation. Lin Jing'an's throat tightened, his breath caught, and for a long moment, he couldn't utter a single word. The very next morning, the news of Sun Ruowei forging a household register made the local paper. It laid out the whole sequence of events in detail. As the only university student in the county, I instantly became an object of widespread sympathy. Even the neighbors got wind of it and were up in arms on my behalf. Honestly, only 4 years for forging state evidence. That's a slap on the wrist, since they're bullying Yiqing like this. They might as well just lock her up and throw away the key, and her accomplice should be severely punished too. How can they just let them off with a measly fine? I was at our family clinic, chatting with a bunch of neighbors while picking up my mom's medicine and removing her 4 drip. I didn't even notice when Lin Jing'an arrived. All I could hear was a familiar elderly voice calling out Lin Jing'an's name. Xiao Lin, what brings you to the clinic today? Are you here to see Yiqing? Our Yiqing is just too kind for her own good. That's why people keep taking advantage of her. You two have been childhood friends since you were little. Next time, you really ought to look out for her properly. The people in the clinic all started chiming in with a few words. Lin Jing'an hung his head low, unable to lift it for the longest time. I had just finished applying herbal medicine to an elderly patient. When I turned around, I saw Lin Jing'an, looking utterly mortified. He met my gaze, which was a mix of astonishment and displeasure. I had no idea what had gotten into Lin Jing'an, making him spout such nonsense in front of the elderly patients at the clinic. It was my fault for not protecting Yiqing. I promise nothing like this will ever happen again, since she likes me so much. Of course it's my responsibility to keep her safe. Before he could finish, I rushed over, grabbed him by the collar, and dragged him out of the clinic. Lin Jing'an, have you lost your mind? When did I ever say I liked you? If you dare spout that nonsense again, I'll go straight to the police station and report you for slander. And this is my home. I don't want to see you here. Get the hell out and don't come back. Lin Jing'an stared at me with a look of utter disbelief and panic. Yiqing, what's wrong with you? How could you possibly not like me? Have you forgotten that we were husband and wife for a lifetime in our past life? If you didn't love me, why would you have thrown yourself in harm's way to save me, using your own body as a shield? The more he spoke, the more his eyes welled up with emotion, almost making me believe he was sincere. If it weren't for you saving me, I might have died long ago. I have to admit, those words stirred up all the unforgettable hatred from my past life. So he did know that I had risked my life. acting as a human shield to save him. But how did Lin Jingyan treat me, for 40 long years? He treated me like a live-in maid. I devoted my entire life to him, yet in his eyes, I wasn't worth a single word from Sun Ruowei. Lin Jingyan, did you come here today just to say these things? Then you can leave right now, having gone through all these experiences. Now, when I face those memories again, I find myself surprisingly calm. I can't change what happened in the past, but from now on, I will avoid all unnecessary entanglements. I looked at Lin Jingyan coldly, as if he were a complete stranger. What you think is your business, but I'm done with you. Stay out of my life. The words had barely left my mouth. The man in front of me stared in horror, as if trying to see if I was lying, but I turned and walked swiftly back into the clinic without so much as a glance in his direction. It was only then that Lin Jingyan seemed to finally realize I was serious. His voice rose several decibels, thick with panic and unease. Impossible, Gu Yiqing. How could you just let me go like this? I promised I would marry you. You can't do this to me. He kept talking and even tried to charge into the clinic. However, I had already closed the clinic door beforehand. Frustrated, Lin Jingyan frantically pounded on the door. He only left, and very reluctantly at that. After I threatened to call the police, before leaving, he even hurled a final threat. Yiqing, I won't let you get away with this. The days that followed were very fulfilling. I was basically helping out at the clinic every day. Under my mother's guidance, I learned some basic medical knowledge and gained practical experience. I was accepted into a medical-related program. In my past life, my dream was to become a doctor, just like my mother, but in the end, because Sun Ruowei took my spot, I was forced to become a temporary worker at the power plant. Now that I have another chance, I'm certainly not going to let it slip away. I just picked up some cold medicine for a patient. Lin Jingyan appeared right outside the clinic. He was all smiles, carrying a bag of steaming hot red bean buns. Lately, nothing has been more of a headache to me than Lin Jingyan. Morning, noon, and night, 3 times a day. He would show up at the clinic every day, right on time. At first, I kept the clinic door firmly shut, but I couldn't keep that up forever. After all, I had to open for patients. I couldn't just stay closed all the time. Lin Jingyan seemed to have calculated that I couldn't keep the door closed forever, so he came back every single day. Yiqing, I bought you breakfast, your favorite red bean buns. Placing the buns on the table in front of me, I stared at him for a long time. He grew puzzled under my gaze, touching his face as he asked, "What is it? Do I have something on my face?" Lin Jingyan, don't you know I'm allergic to red bean paste? I suddenly shook my head with a laugh, a hint of mockery on my face. After all these years, you still don't know something this basic. Have you no shame? He looked at the steaming red bean bun, its dark bean paste oozing out, and let out a sigh. You must be mistaken. The one who likes red bean buns is Sun Ruowei. He froze in place, utterly horrified. I was at a complete loss, not knowing what to do with myself. It's not that he didn't know, he just never cared enough to show any concern for me. In my past life, I was hospitalized countless times due to my red bean paste allergy. Every single time, he was utterly disdainful and never once came to visit me in the hospital. In Lin Jingyan's eyes, I was never truly important. I gestured for him to leave. After a long pause, Lin Jingyan finally spoke, his voice filled with remorse. I'm sorry, Yiqing. I was immature in the past, but please believe me, I will change from now on. I let out a cold laugh, grabbed a red bean bun, and hurled it straight at him. The sweet bean paste splattered all over him. Take your stuff and get the hell out of here. Every eye in the clinic instantly turned to stare at the two of us. In the end, Lin Jingyan had no choice but to make a rather undignified exit. After that day, he finally stopped coming to the clinic to bother me every single day. Just a few days later, the day I was to start school finally arrived. My mom packed a lot of luggage for me and saw me all the way to the train station. As the old green train clattered into the station, I suddenly heard someone calling my name from behind. I turned around to see Lin Jingyan rushing toward me in a fluster. He was holding out a bulging envelope to me. Yiqing, I've heard university life can be tough. This is all the money I've saved. I was going to give it to you to look after sooner or later anyway, so you might as well take it now. A glimmer of hope shone in his eyes. I didn't take it, but he kept trying. He practically forced the envelope into my hand. Yiqing, please accept my help. Having money for university will make things easier for you. His voice was choked with emotion, thick with a heavy tremor. It made me think of how, in his past life, he would send money to Sun Ruowei every month. You used to give Sun Ruowei money like this when she was in university, didn't you? Lin Jingyan's hand suddenly stilled, and the smile on his face slowly froze. He didn't say a word, but I already knew the answer. I shoved the envelope back at him with force, a scornful smile on my face. I am not Sun Ruoe, and I could never be her. You should keep this money for the Sun Ruoe in prison. She probably needs it more than I do right now. Lin Jing'an's expression changed instantly. I was trembling with anxiety, so unsteady I could barely stand. I turned and boarded the green train. Soon after, the train slowly began to move. From behind me came the sound of his heart-wrenching cries. Bu Yiqing, I won't give up. I'll prove to you that my love is real. Yet, I felt not a shred of emotion hearing it, only a strange sense of absurdity. It took a full 2 days on that old green train before I finally reached my destination, with my letter of admission in hand. I successfully began my university studies. The 4 years of university flew by in a flash. In order to focus on my studies, I didn't go home once in all that time. Even during the spring festival, I'd just call home to let them know I was okay. Most of my time was spent working part-time on campus, luggage in hand. I stepped off that familiar green train once more, returning to the city I knew so well. No sooner had I left the station than I ran into Lin Jing'an, who looked almost unrecognizable. He was crouched by the station entrance. The brash arrogance he once had long gone. When he saw me emerge, a flicker of light seemed to flash in his eyes. Yiqing, you're finally back. Uncle Gu and Auntie were busy and couldn't get away to pick you up, so I volunteered to come. To be honest, I knew he would come, so I was prepared. Before leaving the station, I used a payphone to call my fiancé. Walking past Lin Jing'an, he headed towards a black sedan parked by the roadside. Someone's here to pick me up, so I won't trouble you any further. Song Shiqing stepped out of the car and spotted Lin Jing'an immediately. He walked over, greeted him, and shook his hand. You must be Lin Jing'an, Yiqing's childhood neighbor. First time meeting you. I'm her fiancé, Song Shiqing. Lin Jing'an was stunned by the word fiancé. He stared blankly for a long moment before a strangled sound forced its way from his throat. Impossible. How could Yiqing have a fiancé? I would have known. Of course he didn't know. Song Shiqing was my senior by a year, and our engagement was formalized under the supervision of our school teachers. I turned my head and replied indifferently, it's not too late to know now. We'll be sure to send you an invitation when the time comes. Those words finally seemed to ignite the panic buried deep in Lin Jing'an's heart. He rushed forward in a few quick strides, seizing my hand with a fierce grip, his voice thick with desperate pleas. It can't be, Yiqing. You were willing to be my human shield, to take the fall for me. How could you, who loves me so deeply, marry another man? Did he threaten you, Yiqing? If you don't agree to this, I swear I'll save you from this, even if it costs me my life. A scornful laugh escaped me. Lin Jing'an, are you still trying to play the devoted lover with me? Even now, you know exactly what kind of person you are. You're not good enough for me, and you never will be. With that, I had Song Shiqing drive the car away. Lin Jing'an chased after the car, unwilling to let it go. 2 legs are no match for 4 wheels in the end. He stumbled and tumbled a few times on the ground. By the time he got back on his feet, we were long gone. That evening, I introduced Song Shiqing to my parents. My father was so overjoyed that he had a few extra drinks and ended up passed out right on the table. When my mother asked about my future career plans, that's when I realized Song Shiqing had already arranged everything for me. After graduating from university, he transferred jobs for my sake and took a position as the deputy director in the county. He had already submitted my post-graduation resume to the hospital, and they had long since applied to the school to hire me as a doctor in the outpatient department. I just never expected that my very first patient upon joining the hospital would be Lin Jing'an. He lay weakly on the stretcher. The story was that he had made an error while climbing a utility pole to connect some wires, received an electric shock which caused a brief paralysis, and then fell from the pole. This time, there was no one to cushion his fall. I had a run of bad luck and broke my leg in a fall. After the emergency treatment, Lin Jing'an groggily opened his eyes. The moment he saw it was me, he instantly burst into tears. Yiqing, you came to save me again. I've missed you so much. But I coldly shook off his hand. I'm a doctor. Saving you is just part of my job. Please don't read anything more into it. Lin Jing'an froze on the spot. His hand even hung awkwardly in midair. His eyes flickered with emotion, his face a mask of anguish. While Lin Jing'an was still in the hospital, I held my wedding with Song Shiqing. On my first day back at work after the wedding, I overheard an argument in the hallway. It was Lin Jing'an's voice. Ruoe, what on earth is the meaning of this? I only broke my right leg. How could you just abandon me like this? Sun Ruoe wore a cold, mocking smile. You're a cripple now. Even if the power plant doesn't fire you, your future is already ruined. What makes you think you can still marry me? Listen up, Lin Jingyan, it was your idea that got me thrown in jail and branded a criminal. If you don't give me 10,000 yuan in compensation, I'll expose the whole thing. This time, Lin Jingyan was silent for a long moment before he finally spoke. Sun Ruowei, what are you implying? Are you telling me that all your declarations of affection were nothing but lies? Like you, don't make me laugh, let me be brutally honest. The only reason I ever pretended to like you and got together with you was because you had money and prospects. Now that you're a cripple, you should stop dreaming the impossible. A toad lusting after a swan's flesh, give it up. I didn't listen to what came after that. Not long after, I heard from a colleague on the night shift at the hospital that a murder had occurred. It was a killing over 10,000 yuan. And the perpetrator was a well-known electrician in the county. I had a vague inkling of who it might be, but that had nothing whatsoever to do with me anymore. Right now, my top priority is to have a child and live a good life. Story 2, when the car crash happened, my CEO brother and my actor fiancé instinctively shielded the delicate Baihua Luo Xinxin. I was thrown hundreds of meters by the impact. When I opened my eyes again, I had gone back to the day before my debut press conference. In my past life, I merely took one step closer to Liang Yeting. And he immediately distanced himself, publicly mocking me for trying to ride on his coattails. My brother looked down on me too, saying I was just riding on the family's wealth and didn't deserve to compete with Luo Xinxin, who had no connections of her own. Yet now, they stood flanking Luo Xinxin, lending her their full support, backed by the CEO and co-starring with a reigning Best Actor. She became the hottest ticket in town overnight. My heart finally gave out. I bought a plane ticket and left the country to start a new life. 3 years later, at the awards ceremony where Luo Xinxin swept all the major Best Actress trophies, I found myself seated right next to Liang Yeting. He sneered at me, even without me. You shouldn't let yourself go like this. No man will want you if you do. My brother looked at me and shook his head. You left with so much pride back then, and yet here you are, crawling back to beg me for help. But when I, as the host's wife, took the stage to speak, both of them were completely flustered. Xinxin is only 21 and has already achieved the Triple Crown sweep. She's the first in the entertainment industry to do so. Her future is truly boundless. I heard she's also engaged to the award-winning actor Liang Yeting, a perfect match between a handsome man and a beautiful woman. It's like a match made in heaven. Not so fast. Su Yanzhou of the Su Group has chartered every helicopter in the city for a grand once-in-a-century confession to Xinxin. Who she'll choose is still anyone's guess. Inside the awards ceremony venue, the air buzzed with the clamor of the crowd. I had just found my seat when I turned and saw him, Liang Yeting, aloof and impeccably aristocratic. Seeing me take my seat, a flicker of surprise crossed his face. A moment later, it was swiftly replaced by unmistakable disdain in his eyes. Don't sit here. A bit confused, I asked, why? Liang Yeting lifted his head with an air of arrogance, his impatience reaching its peak. I'm going to confess to Xinxin today. With you sitting next to me, I'm worried she might get the wrong idea. Why did you have to come back right now? Of all times, I glanced down at the invitation card in my hand, but before I could say a word, a reporter beside me cut in. Mr. Liang, there are rumors that you're planning to propose to Miss Luo Xinxin today. Is that true? Can you give us a hint? The swarm of reporters closed in, blocking me in completely. Liang Yeting's voice took on a playful tone. That's confidential. Those two words were more suggestive than a straight yes, and the press corps erupted. But even amidst the commotion, a few sharp-eyed journalists began to size me up. A little girl in a red hat blurted out. Isn't that the Su family heiress who used to pester the movie star, Liang? I heard she was so desperate to chase after him that she forced her way into the industry, spending a fortune just to co-star with him. Then she just vanished. What's she doing here today? Could it be she found out Liang is planning to confess his love today and she's back for another shot? The moment she finished speaking, every camera lens and pair of eyes in the room snapped toward me, facing the dark, unblinking lens of the camera. I simply offered a faint smile and gave a dismissive wave of my hand. You've got the wrong idea. I have nothing to do with what you're talking about. I'm just here as a guest for the event. Liang Yeting let out a cold snort beside me. Cut the act. You specifically arranged to sit next to me. Don't think we don't all know what little scheme you're cooking up. He turned to look at me, his voice stern. Let me warn you one more time. If you dare do anything to hurt Xinxin, I will not go easy on you again. Gasps rippled through the crowd as Liang Yeting's words were captured in full by the cameras. The reporter in the red hat sounded thrilled. The Best Actor is fiercely protecting his wife. This is huge news. I'm totally shipping them. Before I could even retort, my hand was seized in a tight grip. Su Yanqi, who gave you permission to come here? The voice was familiar. It was my half-brother, Su Yanzhou. He gripped my hand with considerable force, his expression dark and stormy. This is no place for your antics, come with me. A sharp pain shot through my wrist, and I instinctively tried to pull away. I'm here on serious business, don't you dare lay a hand on me. My defiance only infuriated Su Yanzhou further. Do you think I don't know what's on your mind? I warned you before, love can't be bought with money. Are you really going to make the same mistake again? Stop embarrassing the Su family. He paid no mind to my nearly torn tube top and miniskirt, nor did he care about the countless cameras eagerly capturing my humiliation. I let you have your way before, but not today. This honor was earned through Xinxin's tremendous effort. I won't let anyone ruin it. Yanqi, be reasonable and stop making a scene. Alright. Meeting his nearly bloodshot eyes, a dull ache tightened in my chest. He's my own brother. Yet he's throwing all decency aside, humiliating me in front of everyone. All for his beloved Luo Xinxin. On the other side, Liang Yeting stood with his hands in his pockets, watching me with an amused, almost theatrical gaze. Why are you making such a scene? No matter how much you play the victim, I won't fall for it. Just because you can't have my affection doesn't mean you should throw yourself away. Making a public spectacle like this will only make you less desirable to any man. My clothes had been pulled down to my chest. But my brother still refused to let go. Hearing Liang Yeting's words only fired him up even more. If you don't want to embarrass yourself, get out of here now. I could only clutch my collar, pleading my case with a desperate, hoarse voice. I am a family member of the host and was specially invited to this banquet. None of you have the right to throw me out. After those words were spoken, everyone was momentarily stunned. A family member of the host. The host of this ceremony is the renowned Jinghai magnate, Fu Jingxing. His multinational trade empire spans the globe, and his assets are beyond count. He is indeed a very important figure, but I heard that Mr. Fu is an orphan with no relatives. Could it be, you are his wife? The reporter in the red hat widened her eyes, brimming with gossipy curiosity, and even my brother, who had been trying to pull me away, stopped in his tracks, before he could even process what was happening. Liang Yeting, who had been watching from the sidelines, suddenly stood up. He walked over and loomed over me, looking down from his height. His brow was furrowed, his expression clouded with a baffling anger. Su Yanqi, what did you mean by that just now? In the years since you left me, have you been fooling around with other men? His tone was laced with a strange, inexplicable jealousy, making it all the more cutting. In my past life, I threw myself into the entertainment industry for him. Enduring all the hardships, just to keep pace with him. When his investments led to massive losses, I was the one who sold the shares my parents left me, exhausting all my resources to bail him out. That's why he agreed to my confession of love and became engaged to me. I really thought my sincerity had moved him, but it turns out he was just using me to fund a movie for Luo Xinxin, a billion-dollar production, custom-made just for her. When I found out, he had the nerve to tell me. She has the talent, she just needs a break. Someone like you, born with connections, could never understand the struggle of a small-time actress. I have to help her. I poured my heart out to my brother about the whole ordeal, completely missing how his face was turning greener by the second. It turned out that Luo Xinxin was a female student he had personally sponsored, because of her striking beauty. His brother single-handedly got her into the film academy, despite hearing my displeasure. The only thing on his mind was the fear of losing the woman he loved. He advised me, no matter what happens between you and Liang Yeting, don't let it affect Luo Xinxin. I was absolutely furious, so I confronted Luo Xinxin and told her to stay away from my fiancé. To my shock, she started crying, slapping herself, saying she was sorry and wanted to atone for her sins, all while running outside. My brother and Liang Yeting immediately chased after her, and I followed close behind. Luo Xinxin ran out into the street. When the accident happened, my brother and Liang Yeting instantly threw themselves in front of her. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the night before my debut. My brother worked through the night, instructing the staff to change my debut press conference into one for Luo Xinxin. Liang Yeting also made a grand appearance, solely to show his support for Luo Xinxin. Both of them believed they had wronged Luo Xinxin in their past life, and this time around, they were determined to spare no effort in making it up to her. My heart turned to ashes, and I decided to go abroad alone. The night I left home, my brother simply thought I was throwing a tantrum, playing at running away. He dismissed it with contempt and sneered at me. The world outside isn't as gentle as you imagine. I've sheltered you too much, made you too naive. It's time you went out and learned some hard lessons. Only then will you understand how difficult it's been for Xinxin all this time, and you'll stop trying to make things hard for her. I left, and 3 years passed just like that. Today, I was invited back for an event, and of all people, I ran into them. I never imagined our reunion would be such an ugly scene. Brother Yetting, Brother Yenjo. You're both here. I feel so much better with you by my side. This is such a grand occasion. I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed. I really hope I don't mess up later. Come on, give me some strength. Luo Xinshin, dressed in a long, flowing black evening gown, still hadn't lost her youthful, girlish charm, which made her look especially playful. She extended her hand, making a cheering, encouraging gesture towards the two men. Both men's eyes lit up. Liang Yetting, who had just been questioning me, quickly put some distance between us, his voice softening. You're already a best actress, yet you still get so nervous. Don't worry, no matter what happens, I'm here for you. He reached out and placed his hand on Luo Xinshin's. Brother Yenjo, what are you spacing out for? Come on, hurry up. The brother who was called on flushed with an awkward blush and began to stammer, see coming. The look he gave Luo Xinshin was one of undisguised admiration, I recalled in my past life. When I saw he had Luo Xinshin saved as Little Flower in his contacts, I didn't understand and asked him why he used such a corny nickname. He just gave a light chuckle and said nothing, but now I understand. Luo Xinshin was the flower he had nurtured with such care. He watched her grow, blossom, shine, and become a dazzling star. The way he looked at her was so intense, I had to avert my gaze. Luo Xinshin, as if she hadn't noticed me yet, finished fueling up and continued talking to herself. Backstage just now, I accidentally twisted my ankle. Luckily, someone was there to catch me. She deliberately turned her exquisitely sculpted profile towards the reporter's cameras. After thanking him, I finally realized, he was that mysterious investor, Fu Jingxing from Jinghai, and he said I was the first leading lady of his gala. She lowered her head shyly, her smile as lovely as a painting, drawing a wave of cheers from the crowd, as expected of our superstar. Sweeping a Jinghai tycoon off his feet is just child's play. Looks like another man is about to fall for Sister Xinshin. The movie emperor and the CEO must be sweating now. Exactly, if Big Boss Fu enters the fray, it feels like he could easily outshine the other two. After all, Jinghai is a global enterprise, a massive international corporation. Its scale dwarfs the Su Group. If Boss Fu makes a move, the entire entertainment industry might just tremble. The onlookers whispered among themselves, while the two men present grew visibly more furious. Xinshin, did he do anything else to you? You must open your eyes and see clearly who truly treats you the best. Liang Yetting impatiently pushed his way into the conversation. Meanwhile, her brother Su Yenjo watched from a distance, a picture of dejection. All I want is for you to be happy. After saying this, he turned to leave. Luo Xinshin's eyes fluttered as she waved her hand in a coquettish protest. What are you talking about? You're all being so dramatic. He just did me a small favor. Why on earth would he fall for me out of the blue? At that moment, her gaze suddenly cut through the crowd and landed squarely on me. I just happened to overhear someone spreading rumors about Mr. Fu. He helped me, so it's only right that I return the favor. After all, someone of Mr. Fu's stature isn't just anyone's ticket to fame, is he? Sister Yanqi, don't you agree? Luo Xinshin walked over to me with a smug air, and the crowd's cameras followed her every step. Long time no see, Sister Yanqi. I've been so worried about you since you ran away from home 3 years ago. I feel terribly guilty. If Brother Yetting hadn't fallen in love with me and broken your heart, you wouldn't have left without a word. That's why I haven't dared to accept their courtship all this time. But it's all good now. I heard you found someone new, so I can finally put my mind at ease. She gave me a playful wink, and a card slipped from the hem of her clothes and fell to the floor. She deliberately bent down to pick it up, conveniently revealing the contents of the business card. It's Fu Jingxing's business card. She gave an apologetic smile to the camera. Mr. Fu just reminded me to get in touch with him when I have time to discuss a potential collaboration. By the way, Sister Yanqi, whose family member did you say you were again? All eyes were on me, and a wave of mocking laughter suddenly erupted from the crowd. Talk about instant karma. She tried to show off and ended up making a complete fool of herself. Hilarious, exactly. Unless Mr. Fu is blind, there's no way he'd be interested in her. What does she have that even comes close to my sweetheart? You're all laughing at the poser, but I'm the only one feeling bad for actor Liang and President Su, with such a strong rival appearing out of nowhere. I can't even imagine how devastated they must be. Meeting Luo Xinshin's challenging gaze, I slowly began to speak. I've made myself perfectly clear. I am here as a guest, attending the banquet as a family member of the host. I stared back into her eyes without a trace of fear. She seemed unable to hold back and let out a scornful laugh. Watch your tone, Sister Yanqi. The host of tonight's event is not some ordinary person you can just latch onto. Liang Yeting also stepped forward. Looking at me with utter disgust, Su Yanqi, I told you long ago that I despise liars the most. Did you think pretending not to care would make me see you in a new light? It only makes me loathe you even more. My brother, Su Yanzhou, advised me with a look of helpless resignation. If you don't want to bring utter disgrace upon the Su family, just leave this place right now. Please. I paid no mind to their mockery and scorn, simply taking my seat with an air of detached composure. Soon, staff members stepped forward to disperse the crowd. As the awards ceremony was about to begin, the host took the stage and, after introducing the evening's guests, suddenly shifted the tone. Tonight's ceremony has a special, mysterious guest in attendance. Down in the audience, those in the know had already begun to cheer. I believe many of you already know the news. He is our host for tonight, the elusive figure who has never appeared in public before, Mr. Fu Jingxing. The screams were nearly deafening, as everyone was brimming with curiosity about this mysterious tycoon. The host suddenly shifted the tone of the conversation. But our Mr. Fu here is a bit of a strange character. No matter how I tried to invite him, he simply refused to come out. It was only after asking around that I found out Mr. Fu would only agree to be invited by his future Mrs. Fu. The host's playful warm-up was suddenly met with an inexplicable outburst of teasing from the audience. Luo Xinxin, Luo Xinxin. Immediately, many others joined in the shouting. Mr. Fu's unconventional confession is just too brilliant. The future Mrs. Fu is obviously our Xinxin. Love at first sight is so sweet to watch. Xinxin, Xinxin. The deafening cheers from the audience drowned out any notice of the host's awkward predicament. Could everyone please settle down for a moment? The host kept glancing back and forth at the card in his hand, as if double-checking its contents. Finally, with a hint of hesitation, he began to speak again. And now, please welcome the future Mrs. Fu, Miss Su Yanqi, to the stage for a few words. What, Su Yanqi, is there some mistake? The previously rowdy audience fell into a sudden, dead silence, followed by waves of hushed whispers. Exactly, didn't Xinxin just say that Boss Fu called her his first leading lady? That sounded like he was about to confess. How did it suddenly become this Su Yanqi? I bet that wicked woman is behind this. Didn't you see how hesitant the host was just now? Something's definitely off. Were the cue cards swapped? Ignoring everyone's doubts, I smoothed my dress and stepped onto the stage with grace, facing the sea of hostile fans in the audience. I felt not a shred of fear, all because, for the past 3 years, Fu Jingxing had given me an unshakable sense of security. I took the microphone, a hint of a smile on my lips, and began to speak softly. I'm delighted to have been invited to tonight's banquet. I must say, to receive such a grand welcome at my first event back in the country is quite the surprise. It's been 3 years abroad, and yet, none of you have changed a bit. You're all just as lovely as ever. I looked down at Luo Xinxin in the audience, her fists clenched and her smile frozen stiff, and gave a slight, slow shake of my head, meeting her gaze that seemed ready to devour me whole. My voice remained utterly calm. For tonight's awards ceremony, we have arranged a special segment, that is, a judge's vote. We will bring the back-end data to the forefront, conducting a real-name vote for the nominated actors present. This will further ensure the fairness and integrity of the awards. As soon as I finished speaking, the murmurs from the audience grew louder. This is an unprecedented format. Since the inception of this Best Actress award, the winner has always been announced directly by the judging panel. That winner is typically decided well in advance. Tonight's gala, billed as a competition for Best Actress, had its winner predetermined from the start, so some people had already started celebrating for Luo Xinxin, even though the award hadn't officially been given to her yet. However, if the voting method is now changed to on-site voting, the pre-selected candidate could very well change. Luo Xinxin was getting restless, but to maintain her composure, she gritted her teeth, extended her hand, and was the first to start applauding. The media quickly caught her gesture. Oh my god, Xinxin is so gracious. It was clearly a situation that put her at a disadvantage. Yet she didn't seem to care at all and was even the first to applaud. That's because Xinxin is incredibly talented. No matter how the rules change, I'm certain she'll be the one to win in the end. We stand with Xinxin. It's obvious this woman is stirring up trouble and deliberately targeting our Xinxin. We absolutely cannot let her succeed. The voices in support of Luo Xinxin grew louder and louder, escalating into outright heckling. Go, Xinxin, we're with you. I didn't get the chance, so I continued the announcement. That's all from me. Now, Please give a warm welcome to tonight's special guest, Fu Jingxing. The chatter quickly died down as everyone's attention was drawn to the mysterious VIP about to appear. The lights in the venue dimmed, and I stepped aside, quietly waiting for my love to appear. In the darkness, I saw him walk slowly to the front of the stage, giving me a gentle smile. The lights suddenly blazed to life, yet the entire room fell so silent you could hear a pin drop, as everyone got a clear look at the man on stage. A collective gasp swept through the crowd. The man's impeccable suit, meticulously styled hair, and breathtakingly handsome face left the entire audience in awe. Is this the legendary Mr. Fu? He's on a whole other level of handsome. Not even a top-tier movie star could hold a candle to him, the host murmured to himself, seemingly forgetting his microphone was still on. Down in the audience, Liang Yeting, who had just been called out, wore a dark, stormy expression. Fu Jingxing took the microphone and was just about to speak when he was interrupted by Luo Xinxin, who stood in the audience with a stern expression. No, you're not Fu Jingxing at all. Holding up her dress as if she had uncovered some shocking secret, she hurried up onto the stage, snatched the microphone right out of Fu Jingxing's hand without a shred of decorum. My apologies, everyone, for interrupting your fun, but this is simply too outrageous. I couldn't bear to stand by and do nothing. So I had no choice but to rudely interrupt and come up here to set the record straight. I can prove that the man on this stage is absolutely not Fu Jingxing. She glared at me fiercely, like a smug peacock. I glanced back at Fu Jingxing. He merely tilted his head up slightly and made no other move. As you all know, backstage just now, Mr. Fu caught me when I was about to fall. You might not have seen it, but I saw Mr. Fu's face with my own eyes. She proudly produced a business card. Not only that, he gave me his card and told me to contact him if I needed anything. The venue's cameraman was quick on the uptake, and the business card soon appeared on the big screen. From the audience, a distinguished investor promptly stood up to corroborate. That's right, this is Mr. Fu Jingxing's business card. I've seen it before. Miss Luo is telling the truth. Bolstered by this support, Luo Xinxin grew even more confident and assertive. I saw him with my own eyes. This Mr. Fu is a man who wears glasses, with an extraordinary and refined, calm demeanor. She glanced back at Fu Jingxing and let out a contemptuous snort from the back of her throat. But this imposter is clearly just some male model you dug up from who knows where. Sure, he has a decent face, but no matter how hard he pretends, he's still just a fake. Changing the rules, hiring a male model. Sister Yanqi, I know you don't like me. You spent 3 years setting up this elaborate trap just to ruin me. You really went to a lot of trouble. It's just a shame your little scheme isn't going to work. She shot me a sly grin. Down in the audience, Liang Yeting seemed to let out a sigh of relief and followed her onto the stage. Su Yanqi, when will you ever learn? Ruining Xinxin's award ceremony won't make me look at you any differently. I've told you before, no matter how many times we go back, I will only ever love Xinxin. Why do you insist on recklessly trying to frame her? He gently put his arm around Luo Xinxin's shoulder. Don't be afraid, Xinxin. I'm here to back you up. My elder brother, Su Yanzhou, also walked over. Su Yanqi, stop making a scene. You've already been thoroughly humiliated. Do you really want to embarrass yourself further? He tried to grab me again, but Fu Jingxing, who was by my side, shoved him away. He shielded me gently and then let out a soft cough. A bespectacled man suddenly walked up from below the stage. When Luo Xinxin saw him, her eyes instantly lit up. The real boss Fu is here. Everyone, look. The spotlight instantly swung to focus on the man with glasses in the audience. Just as Luo Xinxin had said, the man carried himself with a poised, calm, and graceful demeanor. Luo Xinxin pushed Liang Yeting away and scampered off the stage with a clatter of heels, putting on a pitiful face and affecting a sugary, coquettish tone. Brother Jingxing, these imposters were just trying to impersonate you. I was fighting tooth and nail to clear your name. Now that you're here, I can finally relax. You helped me once, so I won't stand by and let your reputation be tarnished for no reason. Luo Xinxin fluttered her eyelashes demurely. But to her surprise, the bespectacled man didn't so much as glance her way. He looked up at the silent Fu Jingxing on the stage and spoke respectfully. Mr. Fu, the overcoat you asked me to fetch earlier has been placed in your lounge. Fu Jingxing gave a nod, then turned to speak to me. Yanqi, I was worried you might be cold. Put this on in a moment. 2 utterly ordinary sentences, yet they left everyone in the audience, and indeed, the entire hall, stunned into absolute silence. Luo Xinxin, in particular, seemed to lose all strength at once, collapsing heavily to the floor, her face drained of all color. No, it can't be. How could she possibly be worthy of someone like Boss Fu? Luo Xinxin stared at me in disbelief, her lips trembling uncontrollably. Liang Yeting strode over with a deep frown, his tone clipped and harsh. Su Yanqi, is all of this true? This isn't some scheme you cooked up out of jealousy for Xinxin, is it? I couldn't help but let out a laugh. Liang Yeting, have you come to your senses yet? A trace of sorrow seeped into the corners of his eyes. Are you really with this man? Didn't you say you loved only me, that you'd wait for me forever? Was it all a lie? He seemed inexplicably pained, but all I felt was disgust. In my past life, I, who loved him to the point of obsession, did indeed beg him in anguish. I said to him, just wait a little longer for me, I will become better. And one day I will be worthy of you, in this lifetime. I will love only you. If you ever turn back, I will always be here. I've been his most devoted fan, following him faithfully from the very start of his career. When he was sidelined and targeted, I fought tooth and nail with my votes and support to help him pull through. Having witnessed his struggles firsthand, I poured so much emotion into being by his side. To me, he's the superstar I've watched grow step by step. For him, I made the resolute decision to leave my own field behind and dive into the entertainment industry, just to be a little closer to him. But once he made it big and became a film emperor, the first thing he did was cut all ties with me. You're just a fan, please don't cross the line. It wasn't until I saw it with my own eyes, him holding that delicate flower, Luo Xinxin, as they got into his private van. Only then did I finally understand that no matter how hard I tried, I could never bridge the chasm between us. And now, he has the nerve to accuse me. Su Yanqi, don't make promises you can't keep. I told you, I hate liars the most. He helped Luo Xinxin up and shot me a fierce glare. If you knew the truth all along, why did you stay silent? Just because you resent me for not loving you, you'd let Xinxin be humiliated like this. The accusations were exceptionally vicious, reaching the pinnacle of shamelessness. This is all your fault. You are truly despicable. Even Fu Jingxing, a man of impeccable upbringing standing beside me, clenched his fists. After 3 years together, I knew better than anyone just how even-tempered the man by my side was. After giving up and moving abroad, I returned to my old profession and became a psychotherapist. It was through this opportunity that I met Fu Jingxing, who was suffering from severe depression. Beneath that enigmatic exterior, he was just a young man driven to despair by the entanglements of family strife. His refined upbringing left him ill-equipped to navigate the cutthroat, morally bankrupt world of power and wealth, yet the pressure from his family was inescapable. Under this immense strain, he lost the ability to feel joy. On the surface, he was decisive and formidable, swift to act and unflinching. In private, he would lean into my embrace, asking me again and again, what should I do? I stayed by his side, gently guiding him step by step, leading him out of his troubles. He trusted me unconditionally and regarded me as his life mentor. Now that I was being humiliated, he merely raised his hand slightly, and the security guards swarmed in. As Liang Yeting was being dragged away, he struggled in disbelief, shouting, how dare you lay hands on me? Tonight is Xinxin's event. Without me to protect her, she'll surely be bullied. Fu Jingxing, you've misjudged her. You have no idea what a vicious woman is standing beside you. She's the trash I discarded. Yet you treat her like a treasure. Your judgment is truly pathetic. With a single glance from Fu Jingxing, his bodyguard Yi followed the man out. I knew Liang Yeting was in for a rough night. Meanwhile, Luo Xinxin, still lying on the ground, seemed unwilling to give up. I made a mistake just now, but my only intention was to stand up for you. I know you're a good person, and I was afraid someone might use your name to bully others. After all, this woman by your side is notoriously infamous. Back then, for Liang Yeting's sake, she framed me many times. The worst instance was when she tried to lure me into a foreign scam syndicate. By sheer luck, I escaped with my life. Now that she's latched onto you, you must be extremely careful. She's a venomous woman. She looked at Liang Yeting with earnest eyes, her gaze brimming with sincerity. Even though not a single word she spoke was true, it suddenly dawned on me that Liang Yeting was right. She really does have a talent for acting. To lie through your teeth without so much as a blush or a skipped heartbeat. If that's not talent, what is? It's just a shame that, today, all that talent has come to nothing. Ms. Luo, but according to the investigation I had conducted, the truth seems to differ somewhat from your account. How is it that none of the situations you described appear anywhere in my investigation records? On the contrary, I've uncovered quite a bit of dirt on you. Fu Jingxing held my hand, his voice dripping with disdain. Luo Xinxin's mouth fell open, but no words came out, as if she had suddenly remembered something. Just then, my brother, Su Yanzhou, suddenly stepped out. Enough. Yanqi, haven't you caused enough of a scene already? You know perfectly well why those things can't be investigated, there's no evidence, but you know in your heart whether you did them or not. With someone backing her up again, Luo Xinxin suddenly regained her confidence. Exactly, Su Yanqi, don't play dumb, we know better than anyone why there's no evidence, but you can't deny that you hurt me. A cold laugh escaped my lips. Who wronged whom? The guilty party knows the truth. In my past life, Luo Xinxin always saw me as her enemy. She once lured me into a nightclub, fabricating a major scandal to tarnish my reputation and virtue. Just when I was returning home in despair, they spread the rumor that I was trying to beg the Su family to use their capital to cover things up for me. In my moment of utter despair, I once asked her why she was treating me this way. She looked down at me from her high horse and said, "I have the utmost contempt for your kind. The second generation, you have no real ability whatsoever. Yet you effortlessly enjoy such a privileged life. Everything I have, I earned through my own hard work. You were nothing but a stepping stone for my climb. Consider it an honor that I even found you useful." She looked down on me, treated me as cannon fodder, endlessly put me down, and used me as a foil to make herself look better. But in my past life, I was a fool, my heart and mind consumed by nothing but romance. I threw all caution to the wind, abandoned everything, and pinned all my hopes on Liang Yeting. I longed for him to come and heal me, but reality dealt me a crushing blow. In this life, I've given up everything, just to live my own life well, yet, I never imagined they still wouldn't let me go. Yanqi, won't you even listen to your brother anymore? Today is the most important day of Xinxin's career. Given the hurt you've caused her before, I'm asking you to back down just this once. I promise you, as your brother, we can bury the hatchet. You'll still be my good little sister, and we can live in peace. Here's the deal, you admit it was all your plan, you apologize publicly, and we'll consider the matter closed. For 2 lifetimes now, Su Yanzhou has always been like this, using his status as my elder brother to lord over me, pressuring me into making concessions for Luo Xinxin, all because he pities Luo Xinxin for what she's been through. He once said to me, "She's the same age as you, yet she's living a life completely different from yours. Don't you think she's pitiful? What's the harm in giving her a little leeway? You're already so much more fortunate than her. Can't you be a little more generous?" I've been sponsoring Xinxin since she was a child. My judgment is never wrong. I know exactly what kind of person she is. At that time, I asked him through tears, "I'm your sister, we grew up together. Do you really see me as some kind of irredeemable monster?" He just let out a sigh. "I know you've been spoiled since you were little, but this time, I won't be helping you." Looking back on it now, the whole thing just seems utterly absurd. I've been held hostage by morality my whole life. This time, I refused to back down. I reached out, picked up the microphone, and spoke calmly. "Su Yanzhou, do you think that because I've had a privileged life since childhood, while Luo Xinxin had to climb her way up from the bottom, I should be the one to always give in and make concessions?" Su Yanzhou nodded without a hint of pretense and shot back, "Isn't that right? Look at how hard Xinxin has worked. Unlike you, aren't you satisfied yet?" I let out a soft chuckle. "But brother, don't forget, you were raised just as spoiled and sheltered as I was. You've enjoyed this good life for so long. Since you're so virtuous, why don't you donate all your money to the children in the mountain villages? They've suffered since childhood, far more pitiful than you. How can you bear to enjoy good food, fine clothes, and a big house while watching them struggle and suffer? Brother, surely you're not going to say no." Su Yanzhou was so choked up by my words he was nearly speechless. How could you think that way?" I frowned, feigning innocence. "What, are you really that selfish? Brother, you've had it so easy since you were a child, while kids in the mountains have suffered from the start. You won't even lift a finger to help. How can you be so self-centered?" The crowd erupted in boos. Su Yanzhou's face flushed, then paled. In the end, he could only manage to say, "That's just sophistry, utterly unreasonable," and with that, he slunk away in disgrace. The farce was finally over, but Luo Xinxin still wouldn't give up. She chased after me to question me. Well, I didn't have to hold back anymore. On the eve of my return, Fu Jingxing had already investigated Luo Xinxin for me. In this life, I went abroad before she could do anything bad to me, but even without targeting me, she showed no mercy to the other rising starlets of her generation. Those misfortunes didn't befall me, but fell upon others. During the investigation, we gathered reports from dozens of victims, while Fu Jingxing hired countless paparazzi and private investigators to meticulously collect every piece of evidence. Now, it's time to close the net. Suddenly, the large screen lit up, displaying a surreptitiously recorded scene. Luo Xinxin stepped on the new actress's hand, grinding her heel down twice with cruel force, her tone dripping with arrogance. "Speak, Did you deliberately throw yourself at actor Liang? Do you think someone like you is worthy of clinging to his coattails? The young actress's face contorted in pain, but Luo Xinxin showed not a shred of mercy. I really didn't do it on purpose. I didn't see actor Liang in front of me. I'm so sorry, Sister Luo. Yet the story that aired was about a rookie actress, backed by a sugar daddy, bullying Luo Xinxin and trying to seduce Liang Yeting. In another scene, Luo Xinxin, disheveled, is seen knocking on the director's door. The director was terrified as Luo Xinxin deliberately pushed her way in. Director Lu, I just wanted to audition. I'm more suited for the female lead than Lin Shu. Yet when the news broke, it was about another actress who deliberately offered herself up in a casting couch deal. Going to any lengths and sacrificing her principles for a role, scene after scene, time after time, it was all Luo Xinxin's doing. The full 90 minutes of exposé was more explosive than any movie. When it ended, the venue erupted in jeers and boos. Luo Xinxin was nearly driven insane. Smashing things and screaming hysterically, "It's all lies, you're framing me, you're taking advantage of me because I have no connections, trying to drag me down with you on purpose, fame brings trouble, you just don't want to see me succeed, I will absolutely not be defeated by you." Yet the truth could not be concealed by her excuses. Besides, Luo Xinxin was no longer some naive, defenseless little flower without a backing. She had grown accustomed to throwing her weight around. And it had become her currency. Then, one by one, the people she had bullied filed in from backstage in an orderly line, each stepping forward to voice their grievances. Under the weight of their accusations, Luo Xinxin no longer had the strength to resist. In the end, she was taken away by the police for investigation on charges of intentional assault. As the farce came to an end, Fu Jingxing took my hand and led me off the stage. To my surprise, Liang Yeting suddenly rushed after us. His eyes red and pleading, "Su Yanqi, look me in the eyes and tell me, do all those promises we made mean nothing now? I don't believe you can really let me go, I don't believe you've stopped loving me." Behind him, the bodyguards caught up and subdued him once more. Fu Jingxing turned his head to ask me, "Yanqi, do you feel sorry for him?" Without hesitation, I shook my head firmly, then planted a kiss on Fu Jingxing's head. That night, a video of Liang Yeting's bruised and battered face arrived on my phone. He was still stubbornly refusing to back down, utterly oblivious to the danger. Yanqi could never not love me. No matter how many times we start over, she'd be hopelessly devoted to me. She wouldn't lie to me. I just found it all so ridiculous. My brother, Su Yanzhou, had already been summoned back to the office by a phone call. The reason was simple. The Fu Group would target his company with the utmost speed, driving it straight into bankruptcy. His days of ease were over. On the plane, Fu Jingxing gazed at me tenderly. "Yanqi, you'll never have to wake up from those nightmares, haunted by the past, ever again." Nestled in his arms, listening to his steady heartbeat, I felt the world was utterly perfect. And now, let's move on to the second story. I had been by Zhou Yan's side for 10 years. I got his birthday tattooed on my collarbone just to make him happy. He finally said he would marry me. My family only asked for a 200,000 yuan bride price, and my parents were covering the house and car entirely. He thought that was too expensive, yet he went and married a girl he met through a matchmaker who demanded 1,000,000 yuan. Zhou Yan mocked me, saying a woman like me who throws herself at men is worthless. I turned around and had a whirlwind marriage with Zhou Yan's uncle, who was born on the exact same day as him. Later, Zhou Yan came begging for my forgiveness, offering up his entire fortune. Zhou Yuan wrapped his arm around my waist, gave him a contemptuous look, and said, "Call her auntie." Later, Zhou Yuan's gaze grew heavy as he looked at the tattoo on my collarbone. "It's your birthday, puppy, really, Yao Yao, really, I mean it." I dismissed him with a perfunctory wave of my hand. Zhou Yuan said nothing, only lowering his body and focusing all his effort. The day Zhou Yan said he would marry me, I clutched my phone and paced 3 circles around the living room. Even though there was no grand proposal, I was already completely content. I thought our relationship had finally reached a new chapter. Seeing my overjoyed expression, my mother wiped away tears while murmuring to herself, "As long as Yao Yao is happy, that's all that matters to us. We don't need anything else." My family's demand of Zhou Yan was very simple. He just needed to put up 200,000 yuan as proof of his sincerity towards me. My family covered all the costs for the house and car, and we even booked the wedding banquet at a budget-friendly hotel. Zhou Yan agreed readily at the time and decided we would get married on Valentine's Day. But 3 days later, a text message arrived. "Let's break up. I'm getting married." Those words hit me like a bolt from the blue. I stared at the message on my phone in disbelief. I kept checking the words in front of me, Making sure I hadn't misread them, I kept calling Zhou Yan, but all I got in response was the cold, mechanical voice of a woman. He met that girl through a blind date. She's 8 years younger than him. Her opening demand was for $1 million, plus a fully paid apartment in the city center. Zhou Yan accepted it all without question, even posting a photo of the wedding ring on his social media. The caption read, "True love is priceless." Staring at that post, I suddenly felt a burning sting from the tattoo on my collarbone. So, in his eyes, a decade of feelings wasn't even worth haggling over. The breakup was just a casual, offhand remark. "I'm getting married." No further explanation was given, yet the high price of a girl he'd just met became a point of pride for him to boast about. That night, I was curled up in a corner of the bar. Fingertips traced the tattoo over the collarbone again and again. The sting of alcohol making the rims of my eyes burn. This was the vow I carved into my skin, teeth gritted. On his 18th birthday, I have always been the kind of person who fears pain the most. I couldn't even bring myself to look at an 4-needle. But back then, when the tattoo artist asked if it hurt, I just shook my head. My only thought was the joy Zhou Yan would feel when he saw this gift. He held me tight then and said, "Yao Yao, I could never let you down in this lifetime, but now." This tattoo is like a piece of out-of-season merchandise, forever etched into my skin, into my very bones. A decade has passed, and the tattoo on my collarbone has faded to a faint, ashen gray. Just like Zhou Yan's name, it's become a permanent scar etched into my skin. 10 years is enough time for a boy to grow into a man, shedding youthful naivety for mature charm, and it was enough time for Zhou Yan's vow, "I'll marry no one but you," to fade into the dismissive whisper. "A woman who chases a man isn't worth much." A shadow fell over me, and the man rapped his long, slender knuckles against my glass. Zhou Yan's uncle." He paused, his gaze dropping to the slightly open collar of my shirt. What a coincidence. That number is the same as my birthday. I looked up and met a pair of eyes strikingly similar to Zhou Yan's, yet Zhou Yan's gaze was always elusive, like sand slipping through one's fingers. In contrast, Zhou Yuran's pupils were deep and fathomless, as if they could swallow all light and draw a person in. He was Zhou Yan's uncle, born on the exact same day as him, but he had broken with the Zhou family early on and built his own business empire from scratch, becoming a rising star in the commercial world. I looked up at him. The sharp lines of his face were softened by the gold-rimmed glasses into a deceptively refined facade. As if possessed, I pulled open my collar and let out a soft, knowing laugh. "Yes, it's perfect for your birthday gift." Zhou Yuran's eyes darkened. The girl before him had a glimmer of starlight shining in her own. "Will you marry me?" He leaned in suddenly, his fingertip lightly tracing the tattoo on my collarbone. "Today, right now." The scent of pine enveloped me, cutting through the bar's thick atmosphere and bringing me a measure of clarity. Zhou Yuran and Zhou Yan shared the same birthday, a coincidence that felt like a cruel joke from fate. His frame blocked nearly all the light, leaving only him in my field of vision. It was an assertive posture, yet I didn't feel uncomfortable. In fact, it gave me a sense of reassurance. "Fine, but my wedding will be 10 times more lavish than Zhou Yan's." Waking up with a hangover, I rubbed my throbbing head and reached for the glass of honey water on the nightstand. The light, fragrant sweetness eased my discomfort a little. Wait, where did this honey water come from? It finally dawned on me. This wasn't my home. The marriage certificate on the bedside table was a glaring, vivid red. The large charcoal gray bed was meticulously made, perfectly smooth except for the slight wrinkles where I had slept. "You're awake." Zhou Yuran entered, carrying a plate of cut fruit. The usually aloof man looked exceptionally gentle now, bearing no resemblance to his decisive, formidable persona in the business world. Memories from last night flooded my mind. Did I actually agree to Uncle Zhou Yan's proposal? My mind went completely blank. I pulled the covers up and shrank back, burrowing myself among the pillows. Zhou Yuran put down the plate, walked over to me, and sat down. "Honey." Before the man could speak, I mustered my courage and spoke up. Zhou Yuran was somewhat taken aback, raising an eyebrow. A playful smile curled at the corner of his mouth. "Oh, I won't go back on my word," I hastily added. I stared directly at Zhou Yuran, who was mere inches away, feeling a blush creep onto my cheeks. This man's face was simply too perfect. Even this close, I couldn't find a single flaw. "Then, may I fulfill my marital duties?" Zhou Yuran's handsome, thin lips drew closer and closer to mine. About to touch them, I instinctively closed my eyes, the scent of fresh pine filling my nostrils. After waiting for what felt like an eternity with no sensation, I opened my eyes to see Zhou Yuran still holding that same distance, his eyes now filled with something I couldn't decipher. He continued to lean in, turning his head slightly. He gently kissed my eyelids and said in a husky voice, time to get up for breakfast, sweetheart." My face flushed bright red in an instant, and I buried my head in the blanket. I am a wedding dress designer. I had pulled several all-nighters just so I could appear before Zhou Yan on Valentine's Day wearing the wedding dress I made with my own hands. All of it was just so he could see me at my most beautiful. But now, the unfinished wedding dress mirrored the way my relationship with Zhou Yan had fallen apart. "Is anyone here?" A sudden voice jolted me from my thoughts. The newcomer looked quite young, sweet, and charming. The man beside her was carrying several shopping bags. "Welcome to." The man before me was actually Zhou Yan. I was momentarily speechless. Zhou Yan acted as if he didn't see me, brushing right past me. He was with his bride-to-be, shopping for wedding supplies and a gown, yet he knew perfectly well this was my shop, and he still chose to bring her here. 10 years have passed. From 18 to 28, I was like a tamed dog, stumbling after Zhou Yan's shadow. He liked long, straight black hair, so I didn't dye mine for a decade. He had a sensitive stomach, so I'd cook congee at 4 in the morning and deliver it to his office. He thought my skirts were too flashy, so I started wearing nothing but drab, gray sweaters. When he finally proposed, I nearly got down on my knees begging my parents to give their consent. I asked for no house, no car, and a bride price of just 200,000. I even begged my mother to sell our family heirloom jade bracelet to add to my dowry. Yet here was this girl in a short skirt, with hair dyed in a bold and outrageous color. In every gesture, there was an unbridled confidence. Zhou Yan still watched her with a smile, his eyes holding a tenderness I had never seen before. The glaring scene pierced my heart, sending waves of sharp pain through my chest. Even though I already knew, the hurt was still inescapable. The boy who once belonged to me had long since vanished into thin air over the past 10 years. Ning Yao designed the most beautiful wedding dress for Yaya. "I'm going to marry her on Valentine's Day." Zhou Yan spoke to me as if it were the most ordinary request, just like ordering me to cook or sweep the floor at home. "Do you two know each other?" Lin Yu's gaze shifted between Zhou Yan and me, full of confusion. "Just a friend." Zhou Yan pulled Lin Yu closer, his tone suggestive. "What style do you like, sweetheart?" "I want a fishtail hem with fringe, and on top of that." Lin Yu chattered away with her requests, while Zhou Yan looked on with nothing but indulgent affection, not a hint of impatience on his face. I had also begged Zhou Yan to go shopping with me before. He always said it was a woman's activity and not the least bit interesting. After I finished taking Lin Yu's measurements, she suddenly spoke up. "My husband treats me well, doesn't he?" I nodded in agreement, looking down as I recorded the data in my notebook. I heard his ex from a 10-year relationship keeps bothering him. Girls these days, if they don't have any self-respect, they're worthless. My pen paused in my hand, but I still didn't look up. No self-respect. I returned home, and seeing how exhausted I looked, my mother prepared a bowl of calming soup for me. "Yao Yao, don't wear yourself out over the wedding banquet. You need to take care of yourself too. Just leave it to Zhou Yan." I was taken aback, at a loss for where to begin. I don't know how to tell Mom that Zhou Yan is married, just not to me. I also don't know how to tell Mom that I'm married to Zhou Yan's uncle. There's been so much happening these past few days. My head is a complete mess. "Okay, Mom." I ushered Mom out of the room, then turned and collapsed onto the bed. "I need to rest." The soft bed pulled me into sleep instantly. I'd been exhausted for days with all the wedding preparations, and I slept so deeply I lost all sense of time. I woke up to find my phone flooded with missed calls. They were all from Zhou Yan. My eyes finally settled on a text message. "Come get your things. Yaya is moving in." The photo shows my clothes, scattered all over the floor at Zhou Yan's place. I left some spare clothes at his house to make it easier to look after him. "Yeah." I sent a reply. An address came through almost instantly. It was Zhou Yan's regular pool hall. "Come get the key." The pool hall was thick with cigarette smoke. "Girlfriends you date yourself are worthless. 10 years together and it's like you got it for free." Zhou Yan's voice cut through the clatter of pool cues. "Not like Yaya, so young and pretty." Zhou Yan's friend chimed in, clutching my phone outside the door. A decade of my life shattered into a million pieces. Zhou Yan gave me the key. My hand trembled slightly as I reached for it. Everyone in the pool hall stopped what they were doing to stare at me, their eyes filled with pity, mockery, and contempt. "Ning Yao, maybe if you get down on your knees and beg Brother Yan, he'll marry you." "Ha ha ha." Zhou Yan's friends looked at me with a wicked glee, and laughter erupted all around. Without a word, Zhou Yan leaned over Lin Yu from his seat at the pool table, teaching her how to play. He whispered instructions to Lin Yu, completely ignoring my presence. "Zhou Yan, give me the key." I kept speaking, my hand thrust out rigidly in front of Zhou Yan. Zhou Yan suddenly straightened up, slamming his cue down on the pool table with a sharp crack. The impact sent a red ball rolling into a corner pocket. He watched the rolling ball, a sneer twisting the corner of his mouth. He turned and walked towards me, a silver chain swinging and catching a cold glint of light. Know why I'm marrying her and not you. His boozy breath hit my face. She asks for 500,000 because she's worth it, but you, he pressed his finger hard into the tattoo on my collarbone, you couldn't pay someone to take you. The pain made me stumble back half a step, my lower back hitting the cold edge of the pool table. Zhou Yan leaned in, trapping me with the pool cue laid across the small of my back like a cage. This pose, once a playful flirtation from our honeymoon phase, now felt like a public executioner's block. His thumb traced the tattoo on my collarbone, as if polishing a dusty counterfeit. You're getting it removed tomorrow. Got it, it's bad luck. The final word was punched back down his throat. Zhou Yan stumbled, knocking over the triangle rack and sending the colored billiard balls clattering across the floor. Zhou Yuran shook out his right hand, the hem of his black overcoat still carrying the chill from outside. He was wearing silver-rimmed glasses today. But the gaze behind the lenses was sharper and colder than the neon lights of the pool hall. Uncle, Zhou Yan stammered, clutching his nose as blood dripped from between his fingers onto his white shirt. Before I knew it, Zhou Yuran had appeared behind me. He took off his coat and wrapped it around my trembling shoulders. Ignoring him, Zhou Yuran turned and used the handkerchief from his suit pocket to wipe the blood from my collarbone. The warmth of his fingers seeped through the silk, burning into my skin. What do you mean by this, uncle? Zhou Yan struggled to his feet. This is between Ming Yao and me. It's my business now. Zhou Yuran pulled the maroon marriage certificate from his inner pocket and flicked it onto the pool table with 2 fingers. The golden double happiness character on the cover glinted under the neon lights, a slap in the face to Zhou Yan. In the dead silence, Zhou Yuran wrapped an arm around my waist and steered me toward the door. After we got home, Zhou Yuran suddenly pinned me in the car and kissed me deeply, his lips pressed against my bloodied collarbone, leaving a crimson mark over the tattoo. Blossoms of plum bloomed across my chest, one after another. I tilted my head back, forced to endure it. Zhou Yuran's grip on my wrist was so fierce, it felt as if he wanted to fuse me into his very being. It hurts, I struggled. But the sound was choked in my throat as his knee suddenly pressed against me. He wedged a leg between my knees, and the scent of cedar and tobacco from his black overcoat pressed down, mingled with the sharp sting of whiskey, making my eyes burn. Hurts now, does it? His thumb ground heavily against my collarbone, where Zhou Yan's blood from the pool hall still smeared. Why didn't you curse back when Zhou Yan was humiliating you? I turned my head away, evading his touch. Zhou Yuran pinned me against the floor-length mirror. His skin was burning hot, yet his lips felt icy cold against my collarbone. His thumb traced the tattoo on my collarbone, as if polishing a dusty counterfeit. You're getting it removed tomorrow. You hear me? It's bad luck. The final word was punched back down his throat. Zhou Yan stumbled, knocking over the triangle rack and sending the colored billiard balls clattering across the floor. Zhou Yuran shook his right hand, the hem of his black overcoat still carrying the chill from outside. He was wearing silver-rimmed glasses today. But the gaze behind the lenses was sharper and colder than the neon lights of the pool hall. Uncle, Zhou Yan stammered, clutching his nose as blood dripped from between his fingers onto his white shirt. Before I knew it, Zhou Yuran had appeared behind me. He took off his coat and wrapped it around my trembling shoulders. Ignoring him, Zhou Yuran turned and used the handkerchief from his suit pocket to wipe the blood from my collarbone. The warmth of his fingers seeped through the silk, burning into my skin. What do you mean by this, uncle? Zhou Yan struggled to his feet. This is between Ming Yao and me. It's my business now. Zhou Yuran pulled the maroon marriage certificate from his inner pocket and flicked it onto the pool table with 2 fingers. The golden double happiness character on the cover glinted under the neon light, a slap in the face to Zhou Yan. In the dead silence, Zhou Yuran wrapped an arm around my waist and steered me toward the door. Once we got home, Zhou Yuran suddenly pinned me in the car and kissed me deeply, his lips crushed against my bloodied collarbone, leaving a crimson mark over the tattoo. Blossoms of plum bloomed across my chest, one after another. I tilted my head back, forced to endure it. Zhou Yuran's grip on my wrist was so fierce, it felt as if he wanted to fuse me into his very being. It hurts, I struggled. But the sound was choked in my throat as his knee suddenly pressed against me. He wedged a leg between my knees, and his black overcoat, carrying the scent of cedar and tobacco, pressed down, mixed with the sharp tang of whiskey. It stung my eyes until they burned. Hurts now, does it? His thumb ground heavily against my collarbone, where Zhou Yan's blood from the pool hall still smeared. Why didn't you curse back when Zhou Yan was humiliating you? I turned my head away, evading his touch. Zhou Yuran pinned me against the floor-length mirror. His skin was burning hot. Yet his lips felt icy cold against my collarbone. "It's your birthday, puppy." The words slipped out before I could think. He froze, a storm suddenly raging in his eyes. "Is that true, Yao Yao?" He gripped my waist, his hold so tight it felt like he might crush the bones. In the mirror, my hair was a mess, and the tattoo on my collarbone rose and fell with each ragged breath. Like a vicious scar, Zhou Yuran suddenly turned vicious, biting down on that patch of skin and mumbling, "Liar." It hurt, but this pain was nothing compared to the agony of watching Zhou Yan turn away. I stared up at the swaying chandelier on the ceiling, the tears that fell from the corners of my eyes scalding hot. The neon lights of the pool hall cast a shadow over Zhou Yan's head. The hand gripping the cue was taut with bulging veins, his knuckles white from the strain. Lin Yu leaned against the pool table with a coquettish laugh, chatting about gossip with the friends around her. Her freshly done nails scraped against the rim of the cocktail glass, producing a harsh, grating sound. That sound suddenly transported him back 10 years, to Ning Yao huddled in the kitchen of his rented apartment, using her worn-down fingernails to painstakingly scrape the burnt congee from the bottom of the pot. Back then, Ning Yao was hopeless in the kitchen. She couldn't even manage the most basic congee without it scorching on the bottom every single time. To comfort her, he would always gulp down the burnt porridge in one go. Ning Yao's cooking skills improved without her even realizing it, and she never burned a dish again. "Yan, it's your break." The urging from his rowdy friends, laced with the smell of cigarette smoke, drifted over, but Zhou Yan stood frozen in place, unmoving, as Lin Yu clicked over in her stilettos and pressed close. He caught the strong scent of her black opium perfume. The scent made his temples throb, and in a daze, he remembered how Ning Yao always loved to sneak a spritz of his cologne, saying the blend of cedar and lime smelled like a summer night of a first kiss. "Yan, what do you think of this diamond ring?" Lin Yu thrust her phone right in front of his face, the 24-carat diamond on the screen nearly filling it entirely. "All my friends are wearing this kind." Zhou Yan suddenly stood up, the pool cue clattering onto the floor tiles. "What are you doing?" Lin Yu was startled. Only then did Zhou Yan snap out of it. Collecting himself, he quickly tried to reassure Lin Yu, pointing at the dazzling diamond ring flashing on his phone screen. "If you're going to buy it, this is the one to get." Zhou Yan and Lin Yu's wedding was set for Valentine's Day, with the ceremony to be held at the very hotel where he and I had once discussed our own marriage. The guests were all laughing and celebrating the happy couple. Dressed in a formal suit, Zhou Yan warmly greeted the guests, a far cry from the reckless young man he once was. Zhou Yan clutched his stomach with a pained expression. Years of business dinners had long since taken a toll on his health. He was even hospitalized once for a stomach hemorrhage. After that incident, I moved into his place to look after him. I cooked for him every day, trying out different recipes. It was only after nearly a year of careful dietary care that his condition finally began to improve, judging by his pallor now. "It seems the problem has flared up again, but that's none of my business, isn't that Miss Ning?" A sharp, piercing female voice cut through the air as Lin Yu, seemingly out of nowhere, approached with her bridesmaids in tow. She lifted the hem of her dress and twirled, the sweeping train of her mermaid gown shimmering under the lights. "The dress you designed is beautiful and suits me perfectly. Yan says he's truly blessed to have married me." Lin Yu smiled and waved her hand, the ring on her finger glinting under the light, a little too dazzling for my eyes. In a flash, I was transported back 8 years to that awkward boy's side. Back then, Zhou Yan was struggling to make ends meet, to buy me a Valentine's Day gift. He took on several part-time jobs and saved up for what felt like an eternity. He could barely afford a plain band, yet he presented it to me as if it were a treasure. The cautious, sparkling hope in his eyes is something I remember to this day. Later, whenever Zhou Yan and I argued, I would touch the plain ring on my finger. Thinking of Zhou Yan from back then always makes my heart soften. My hand went instinctively to the plain band on my ring finger. It was empty, my fingers finding only the faint, lingering indentation left by years of wear. Right. I'd thrown that ring into the river the very night he told me he was getting married, letting it sink along with all the love I once felt. When he saw me, he was just downing his 10th drink, a faint flush already coloring his cheeks. Zhou Yan drained his glass in one go, his eyes growing distant and unfocused. He strolled over with a champagne flute, toying with Lin Yu's hand, barely sparing me a glance as he remarked offhandedly, "Yaya insisted on sending the invitation. She said old things deserve a proper send-off." As dried petals fluttered down onto the tips of my shoes, the MC suddenly called out, "It's time for the bride to toss the bouquet to all the single ladies." Lin Yu's fingers, painted in crimson nail polish, froze right before my eyes. "Miss Ning, why don't you step into the center? She chuckled behind her hand, and catch some of my good fortune. A bouquet of roses and baby's breath came hurtling through the air with a whoosh. And I instinctively raised my hands to shield myself. Then I heard Zhou Yan's mocking laugh. Yaya has quite the aim. The words died in his throat as a pair of hands with prominent knuckles intercepted the bouquet mere inches from my face. I was suddenly pulled into a broad embrace, and the familiar scent washed over me, bringing an instant sense of calm. Zhou Yuran, in one fluid motion, turned his hand and plunged the bouquet into the champagne tower. The moment the liquid submerged the flowers, he then tossed the bouquet skyward. It landed beside Lin Yu's skirt, splashing yellow-tinged champagne. It soiled. A deathly silence instantly fell over the entire room. Zhou Yuran produced the marriage certificate, the embossed gold seal pressed down over his name and mine, the date glaringly matching the very day Zhou Yan had delivered the wedding invitation. The champagne flute in Zhou Yan's hand shattered instantly, blood mingling with the alcohol as it dripped down. Tick-tock, the venue fell silent instantly. After a long pause, Zhou Yan finally spoke. Uncle, there's a limit to your jokes. It's no joke. Zhou Yuran is my husband. I broke free from Zhou Yuran's embrace and stepped in front of him, shielding him. We're legally married, by all rights. You should call me auntie. Zhou Yuran looked at me standing protectively before him, raised an eyebrow, and a hint of amusement flickered in his eyes. You've improved, Zhou Yuran's low voice murmured by my ear, sending a shiver through me that made my legs feel weak. Zhou Yan suddenly noticed a bite mark on my collarbone. It was imprinted over the tattoo, tinged with a faint red. The teeth had sunk deep into the numeral, as if trying to erase it, the mark radiating a raw, possessive aggression. "Our Yao Yao," he whispered, his lips brushing my ear as he leaned in, was one with the entire Zhou group's shares. Amidst the gasps of the crowd, Zhou Yuran's fingers traced the fresh mark on my neck, his touch lingering. Zhou Yuran took my hand, and a sudden chill settled around my ring finger. I lifted my hand to find a diamond ring, slipped onto my finger by Zhou Yuran at some unnoticed moment. It's dazzlingly beautiful, even larger than the one Lin Yu wore, and under the light, it makes my hand look even more fair and delicate. Zhou Yan gritted his teeth as he watched the scene unfold before him. It's stifling in here. Yao Yao, let me take you out for some fresh air. Zhou Yuran wrapped his arm around my waist, ready to leave the wedding reception. The woman he once dismissed as worthless now stood in a haute couture gown, a billion-dollar diamond glittering on her finger. She held all the shares of the Zhou conglomerate. Zhou Yan's eyes were bloodshot as he pointed at Zhou Yuran's retreating figure, spewing curses. You're just trash picking up someone else's cast-offs. At a signal from Zhou Yuran, a group of black-suited bodyguards suddenly rushed out. They hoisted Zhou Yan up and forced him to his knees. Without a word, I walked straight up to Zhou Yan and slapped him across the face. The sound was sharp and clear. A decade of youth, a bride price of 200,000, all shattered in that single, sharp crack. Zhou Yuran clapped behind him, as if applauding a perfectly executed play. Zhou Yan stumbled into the restroom. In the mirror, the man with the crooked tie superimposed over his younger, ambitious self from 10 years ago. It was on nights like this that Ning Yao would have smoothed out every wrinkle for him. Now, the frayed threads on his cuff would go unmended. Why did you deliberately provoke Zhou Yan? I grabbed him by the collar and yanked him closer, his handsome face looming large before my eyes. The air, tinged with the scent of pine, enveloped me in an instant. He loosened his tie, revealing the tattoo below his collarbone, a mirror image of my own, freshly inked this morning. The numbers still glowed red, with faint needle marks visible beneath a layer of clear plastic wrap. It's my birthday. I leaned back against the wardrobe, the metal handle digging painfully into my spine. Zhou Yuran lowered his head, drawing closer and closer until the air itself seemed to thin. Didn't you say you wanted to see him trampled by the one he despises most? The rest of my words were swallowed by his kiss. The kiss tasted of blood and the bitterness of whiskey. His hand gripped my waist, pulling me closer to him, pressed close together. Our entwined figures were reflected in the locker room mirror. The face of his watch gleamed a cold blue in the dim light, the ticking of its second hand in sync with my own pulse. I want the truth. Breathing shallowly, I turned my head away and pushed him back. He pulled back half an inch, panting, his nose brushing against my burning earlobe. Because I envy him for having had you for 10 years. The scalding heat of his breath made my ear tingle and go numb. Zhou Yuran's voice was heavy and tinged with a slight tremor, each word enunciated deliberately, as if he were expelling all his pent-up anger. My fingers traced the contours of Zhou Yuran's face, gliding from his brow down to finally rest on his abdomen. Now you have me for a lifetime. His pupils contracted sharply, and with a sudden laugh, He lifted me onto the storage shelf, the black trench coat brushed against my calves, the ticklish sensation making me instinctively draw back. He slowly undid the third button of my shirt, his lips brushing against my collarbone as he whispered, "Are you ready, Mrs. Zhou?" Zhou Yan's newlywed life began to sour right from the honeymoon. On the third day after the wedding, Lin Yu demanded that the entire bride price be transferred into her personal account. She was obsessed with flaunting her luxury goods on social media, yet couldn't be bothered to make him a simple bowl of hangover soup. Returning home late from a business dinner, Zhou Yan collapsed onto the cold, empty living room rug. He found Lin Yu live streaming as she unboxed her newly arrived Hermes package. On the kitchen counter sat a long cold takeout container. Its grease congealed into waxy, yellowish clumps. He suddenly remembered a rainy night when he was working late. Ning Yao had waited in the office lobby for 4 hours, clutching a thermal lunchbox. When the lid was lifted, the pork rib and Chinese yam congee was still so hot it was bubbling. And now, as he hunched over the smart toilet retching, Lin Yu's saccharine complaints seeped through the crack in the door. "Darling, the required purchase to get this crocodile skin Birkin bag is 700,000. As Zhou Yan hit the reject call button for the 37th time, the car radio was broadcasting a red typhoon warning. The windshield wipers thrashed frantically against the glass, unable to clear the stubborn streaks of water. It was like the lipstick stains Lin Yu always left on the leather seats, no matter how much he conditioned them. The color seemed to seep into the grain, as if guided by some unseen force. He found himself driving toward the old district. By the time he came to his senses, the car was already facing a congee shop glowing with warm, yellow light. Back when Ning Yao was still a novice in the kitchen, this was the very place where she'd buy congee for him. It was only after relentless practice and trial that she finally started making it for him herself. The old neon signs have now been replaced by smart screens, endlessly scrolling through ads featuring celebrity endorsements. A familiar flash of blue suddenly cut through the curtain of rain. Liang Yao, clutching an insulated delivery box, rushed into the congee shop. The hood of her tracksuit was blown back by the wind, revealing hair now cropped short around her ears. Zhou Yan's fingers dug into the steering wheel. That long lock of hair he used to twirl around his finger had long since been cut off by Ning Yao. He couldn't take this life anymore and asked Lin Yu for a divorce. When the lawyer's letter demanding divorce compensation from Lin Yu arrived, Zhou Yan accidentally knocked over the cup Ning Yao had given him. He knelt on the floor, picking up the shattered glass piece by piece, only realizing his palm was bleeding when a sharp line of red appeared. Raindrops hammered against the window, and in a daze, he saw the 26-year-old Ning Yao crouching on the floor of their old rented apartment. I carefully glued back together the cheap plaster couple figurine he had given me for my birthday. Zhou Yan's tears began to fall, one heavy drop after another. Without any warning, I unhurriedly closed the cabinet door, and the paper cranes in the glass jar rustled softly. I had stayed up late folding those 999 cranes for him during the sleepless nights of his startup's early days. Now, each wing is inscribed with a date and pen, marking the 10 years we wasted on the wrong person. So what? Zhou Yan suddenly threw himself to his knees, trembling as he pulled out a velvet jewelry box. The 8-carat pink diamond blazed against the black velvet, making his current posture seem all the more pathetic. "You said you liked this in a magazine once. I've searched everywhere, Mr. Zhou. You've remembered incorrectly." Zhou Yuran's voice came from behind me. He was holding my forgotten knit cardigan and a bouquet of flowers. What my wife pointed to in the magazine back then was, "This type of rose requires acidic soil." She's only ever been interested in things that can take root and grow. The last time I saw Zhou Yan, he was waiting outside my old apartment until 2 in the morning. I stepped out of the Bentley, holding Zhou Yuran's black umbrella. "Yao Yao, I was wrong." Rainwater streamed down the fabric of his suit. "Lin Yu and I are divorced now. Yao Yao, you deserve the best. I'll give you everything I have. Let's start over, Mr. Zhou." It was the first time I had interrupted him with such a distant form of address. If a shattered mirror hopes to be whole again, one must first kneel and swallow every last shard. Zhou Yan was struck speechless, unable to utter a sound for a moment. Zhou Yuran guided me upstairs. It was only later that I found out Zhou Yan had stood outside my building the entire night. The last time Zhou Yan saw Ning Yao was at the scene of the old mansion fire. Enraged by his account freeze, Lin Yu set his house on fire in retaliation. Amid the blaring sirens of fire engines, he frantically clawed through the charred wreckage. Finally, within the debris, he found a half-melted, coiled silver chain, the memory of Ning Yao, crouched before a jewelry store counter meticulously comparing the price difference between carat gold and pure silver. suddenly flooded back with suffocating clarity. "Look out!" A familiar, sharp cry exploded in his ears. Zhou Yan turned. Ning Yao was just in time to see the child nearly struck by a falling beam and lunged to push them out of the way. The ends of her hair were singed in a few places, yet she held the child tightly, shielding them with her own body. Zhou Yuran strode forward and wrapped an arm around her shoulders, as they both bent down to check the child's injuries. The matching tattoo on Zhou Yuran's collarbone was revealed, like a symbiotic flower, the moment the fire hose erupted in a torrent. Zhou Yan finally saw the truth of his decade-long delusion for what it was. He had lost the one woman who would wipe wine stains from his clothes, remember the dosage of his stomach medicine, and even choose hypoallergenic silver for a chain, yet, he had smugly chosen a higher-priced counterfeit, thinking himself clever. He suddenly understood what Ning Yao had meant all those years ago, right after she got her birthday tattoo. Some marks take a lifetime to prove their worth. The most precious thing was never the bride with a price tag, but the fool who was willing to grind her youth into gold dust to sketch the outline of his future. End of main text. Zhou Yuran's perspective. The first time I saw Ning Yao was in the surveillance footage from the Zhou family's old mansion. The old man flew into a rage that day because Zhou Yan had gone off to spend the night at a hotel with those unsavory friends of his. Yet again, I leaned back in the swivel chair in the surveillance room, cigarette dangling from my lips, watching the monitor. On screen, 18-year-old Ning Yao was squatting on the back kitchen steps, holding a bowl of steamed egg custard, trying to coax the sulking Zhou Yan. Her neck was as slender as a willow branch in early spring, and the hollow of her collarbone was still bare, devoid of that goddamn tattoo she'd get later. "How long are you going to watch, sir?" the head of security asked, wiping sweat from his brow. I didn't say a word, just rewound the scene in my mind to 3 minutes earlier. The moment Zhou Yan knocked over the porcelain bowl, her first instinct was to reach out and catch the scalding egg custard. A shard of porcelain sliced through the webbing of her thumb, and drops of blood fell onto her moon-white skirt, blooming into a few lopsided plum blossoms. Later, I rented an apartment across from her bridal shop. She always greeted everyone with a smile, genuinely sharing in the happiness of their marriages. At that moment, I wondered what she would look like wearing the wedding dress she had designed herself. On the day we finally met face to face, I deliberately knocked over the chicken soup she had made for Zhou Yan. As the scalding broth splashed onto my wrist, I saw the look I wanted, her pupils contracting sharply, just as they had years ago when she caught the egg custard. "Let me go to the hospital with you." Her fingers trembled as they clutched the burn ointment, yet she forced an air of composure. I stared at the unhealed needle mark on her collarbone and suddenly let out a laugh. It was the third day after Zhou Yan's birthday. The bruised ink embedded beneath her skin looked painfully conspicuous. So I decided to treat it as my own birthday. The moment I truly considered marrying her was when I saw Zhou Yan with his arm around Lin Yu, picking out wedding rings in a jewelry store. Outside the glass window, the rain was pouring down. Ning Yao huddled in the restaurant, clutching a stack of wedding planning proposals as she waited. Her phone screen kept lighting up and dimming, filled with unread messages all sent to Zhou Yan. The one at the top read, "Don't drive in this typhoon. I've called a ride for you." When I found her, she was drowning her sorrows, with 4 or 5 empty bottles scattered at her feet. I couldn't help but bring up marriage, and the moment the words left my mouth, I regretted it, thinking I'd been too impulsive. Thankfully, she was just as impulsive and actually said yes to my proposal, but it still wasn't quite official enough. I'm going to give Yao Yao a proper, grand proposal to make up for it. The next morning when she woke up, I was afraid she'd see how nervous I was. I practiced outside the door for the longest time, trying to figure out how to start the conversation. When I finally went in, I still clumsily asked if she wanted something to eat. Thankfully, she didn't change her mind. On our wedding night, she was stumbling drunk, yet she still remembered to swap my antidepressants for vitamins. By the time I came to my senses, I already had her pinned down on the floor, scattered with contract drafts. Her wrist was bruised purple from my grip, yet she tilted her head up and bit my lower lip until it bled. "Zhou Yuran, your heartbeat is so loud." Later, when Lin Yu tossed the bridal bouquet at the wedding, I watched her pale profile from across the crowd. The light refracted from the champagne tower danced across the tattoo on her collarbone, the string of numbers that belonged to me now consuming the traces of Zhou Yan. Last night, she had fallen asleep curled up on the windowsill, Zhou Yan's letter of remorse still clutched in her palm. As I slipped the letter from her grasp, she murmured in her sleep, "Yuran, the medicine is in the left drawer." As she turns over, resting her head on my arm, I think of the girl who came into my life 10 years ago and taught me the meaning of love. I finally have Ning Yao, and she finally has me, for a lifetime. My Yao Yao will always deserve the very best. That's all for today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe. If you have any suggestions, feel free to leave a comment below. See you in the next video.